Okay, and how do you respond to Ambassador Foley's claim, shared by all the people who signed the memo, that the ban is a betrayal of American values?
The ambassador is certainly entitled to his opinion on that. There are many, obviously it's very clear that this policy has many opponents, but fundamentally it's designed to try to keep the United States safe.
Representative Ilhan Omar's heated exchange with career State Department official Edward Ramatowski is more than just a tense moment. It's a blueprint for shutting down a political ambush with calm precision. Ramatowski, a nonpartisan professional with over 3 decades of service, finds himself across from Omar, who clearly walked into the hearing aiming for a headline-ready soundbite. She pushes him to criticize his department, his colleagues, or even the president, but he never bites. Instead, he sticks to explaining the actual legal process and how policy is implemented, while she leans on hearsay and quotes from former officials. It's a sharp contrast worth studying, and as you watch the full exchange, pay attention to how he answers just as much as what he says. If you think he handled the pressure like a pro, drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you appreciate straight, no fluff analysis, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let's get into the full clip.
The State Department for 33 years, right?
Over 33 years, yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Has it been typical for more than 100 people to sign dissent memos on a given policy?
That would be atypical, I think.
Atypical. Has it been typical for policy to drive several SOs to publicly resign in protest?
There have been Foreign Service officers who've resigned in the past over various policies. That's true.
In June of 2017, between the second and the third version of the Muslim ban, more than 100 diplomats signed a dissent memo that said, quote, banning travelers from these 7 countries calls back to some of the worst times in our history. Former consular officer Christopher Richards, who resigned in protest of the Muslim ban, said in an op-ed that the consular officers were not able to issue waivers on their own, that they had to get approval from the State Department. Would that be you? Do you give that approval?
No, that's not correct. The consular officers make the decision on the first 2 prongs of the waiver, national interest and undue hardship, and then the interagency security review provides the guidance on the security prong.
So that's not a decision you get to make,
No.
or is the White House involved in that decision?
Not at all.
Okay. Sarah Gartner, another former FSO who resigned in protest over the Muslim ban, told CNN that fellow officers, quote, felt pressure to approve as few folks as possible for the waiver. She also said that the Muslim ban had been, quote, reworked and sanitized by layers of bureaucracy with people distracted by the next terrible thing. It can be easy to forget it's even happening. Well, it looks like Congress hasn't forgotten. And Madam Chair, I have assigned testimony from 4 former FSOs that I would like to enter into record.
It's put into the record by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Ambassador John Foley, who quit his post as ambassador to Panama in 2018, said he could no longer represent President Trump and still hold true to the value that make this country great. Among the policies he listed was the Muslim ban. In the end, how many diplomats and consular officers signed the dissent memo protesting the ban?
I don't have an exact number for you, Congresswoman. I know that some did.
Will you be able to get us that number?
I can't guess that number, no.
How do you respond to his claim that the consular officers have to get clear waivers with your office?
I would say, as I said before, that that's not correct. The consular officers make the determination on the first 2 prongs of the waiver, national interest and undue hardship. And the security check, as I testified, is conducted back here in Washington. Now, if a consular officer is...
So you're saying his claim is false?
Which claim? That Washington
Richards.
is making the decisions?
Yes.
Yes, that's not correct.
And how do you respond to Ms. Gartner's claim that the officers are implicitly or explicitly pressured to deny waivers?
We are not implicitly or explicitly pressuring anyone to act in any way contrary to the law.
Okay, and how do you respond to Ambassador Foley's claim, shared by all the people who signed the memo, that the ban is a betrayal of American values?
The ambassador is certainly entitled to his opinion on that. There are many, obviously it's very clear that this policy has many opponents, but fundamentally it's designed to try to keep the United States safe.
And to our other two panelists, was Stephen Miller's role in formulating the 3 reiterations of the Muslim ban? What was his role?
I'm not aware of any role played by Stephen Miller.
And Ms. Newman?
I was not at the department in January. I did not start until late February.
Okay. And what instructions were DHS and state given from the White House as how to implement the Muslim ban?
I wasn't given any instruction from the White House.
Again, ma'am, I was not at the department in January 2017.
This wasn't a hearing, it was a political ambush, and the target simply refused to fall. What we watched was a clean clash between professional composure and political theater. Representative Ilhan Omar came in with Puritan talking points, curated quotes, and a narrative locked in before Edward Ramatowski ever spoke, leaning heavily on hearsay from former officers who resigned and later complained about pressure. But Ramatowski dismantled her setup at every turn. When she tried to corner him on the waiver process, he calmly corrected the record with a direct, "No, that's not correct," then explained the actual procedure, wiping out the premise she was building. When she cited someone who felt pressured, he responded with policy and law instead of emotion, making clear that no explicit or implicit pressure existed. And when she tried the classic values trap, forcing him to either criticize his own government or look like the villain, he sidestepped it effortlessly, noting the ambassador is entitled to his opinion before grounding everything back in reality. The policy exists to keep the country safe. He stayed in his lane as a 33-year career expert, while she worked to create a political moment. In the end, he brought facts, she brought talking points, and the takedown attempt didn't land.